I'm grateful for when we can just pay attention. Just the slightest little things can be what brings us back. A cloud, the shape of a cloud, it can be anything. That's what's so magical about nature. I think for some people, they wait for the vacation to slow their mind down, which is that's a tough life to wait that long,
Yeah.
to not get out of that space. Like for me, my mind can go dark places because, I was a suicidal teen. And so it can go into autopilot spinning. If I'm not taking charge of what's going on inside of me, it can get dark. So I have to have my tools in place in order to remember that that stuff's not real. They're just stories. And nature always helps me get there.
Welcome to the Enchanted Earth Podcast, where you will hear stories of nature with the power to transform our lives. So listen in as my guest today shares one of their own. Did you know that this podcast was inspired by my book, The Enchanted Earth? I'll put links below so you can get your own copy. With us today is Rachael Wolff. She's an author, speaker, and certified life coach who specializes in transformation from the inside out. She combines academic insight, holding a degree in human development, with over 30 years of lived experience navigating trauma-induced PTSD, OCD, and ADHD. Rachael's mission is to help others awaken to their own power and thrive beyond the chaos happening around them. So welcome, Rachael.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. So as you know, you and I met through Books That Save Lives, or actually it was Mango, our publisher. Both of us have published our books through them, recent books. And I read your recent one called Tending Your Inner Garden. What a lovely, lovely book that's so helpful for people, especially in these times.
Yes, that was the goal of it, is just to help people recenter by looking at themselves and get out of the chaos and see how they can ground themselves first and then move out. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so such an important part of the process of self-actualization, personal development, spiritual development. And of course, what I'm doing with this channel goes so beautifully with it. So it was like, yeah, come on and talk about your stories, because my whole premise with this podcast is that we all have these stories of sacred connection to nature. And sometimes we just have to remember them.
Well, and I have read your book. After we had gone on a panel together, I was like, I have to read this book. So I read it. And it's true. All these old stories kept coming to the surface. And I was just like, wow, I have always been connected to nature. And I just never saw it so clearly as when I read your book and could hear all these other stories. And it was just like, yes. And it felt that inner yes, that deep yes, that, oh, this is why that feels like home to me. Because nature has always felt like home to me. It's where I go for peace. So it was just such a refreshing read for that reason.
Well, I love that. And as you probably saw in my book, there are stories of trauma and seeking, or, we don't go into the detail of the trauma, but nature being a support and embrace for helping survive through
Yeah.
trauma.
Well, for me, it was huge. Me getting my feet out on the earth when I was in a PTSD episode was very helpful for me. That's one of the things that I could help release me from the episode, is to get my feet planted barefoot on the earth and just absorb the earth's energy. And it just helped calm me down so much faster than any other exercise would that I had tried. So yeah, it
Wow.
definitely helped me.
Wow. So first, I know you've got stories to share. I just always love to hear a little bit about the land that raised little Rachel. Tell us about the land itself.
Well, it's funny because I was thinking about going back there, and I moved a lot, but nature was always an element. The first house I remember had a creek in the backyard that I always loved to put my feet in. And I would love to imagine what was on the other side, like the mythical. I thought I couldn't see the horses or anything, but you could hear them. So I would create these mythical stories in my mind of what could be happening over there. And then I moved to a place where there was woods accessible to me. And my friend and I would, at 5, 6, 7 years old, would go off in the woods and just create these stories of adventures in the woods. And I had these rocks that, because I was in New England at this time, is in New England and Connecticut. And so there's lots of history, there's lots of ghost stories, there's just lots of old land stories. And we had these rocks that lined the driveway. And so we would create these worlds where we had to jump across the rocks to get to the safe place, to the fairies. And had this little den of bushes that had like a little cubbyhole for us to hide in and be safe with the fairies. And yeah, your book got me thinking of all those stories and of how I was raised. And my family used to go on lots of road trips, and every road trip involved nature. We always were on nature, going to Cape Cod, mountains, just different places that involved us being out in nature, and also was raised camping. So, and I loved it. And I continued all of that with my children. When I became a single parent, I was like, I'm not waiting for anybody. I am going to go and do these adventures. So I took them on a 6-week road trip one year, and we did camping, we did hiking, we did mountains, we did waterfalls. But it was to get them in nature to see how powerful it was and how healing it can be. And it really was. It was the best parts of our trip.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's not an easy thing to do, being a single mom, right? I mean, camping, I know. I've been camping my whole life, and I always have a partner to help with all the stuff and putting everything together and packing up, and then, managing the campsite and all that.
Yeah.
So I give you a lot of credit for that. That's really fabulous, Rachael.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I found one of my friends that I grew up with, who I actually did the forest runs with when I was a kid, my childhood friend. She was a single mom too. So we would go together.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, perfect.
Yeah. And we would do the camping together. Yeah. So I wasn't quite alone when I was camping, but yeah.
Good.
We would do it. We were both responsible for our own stuff, but it just felt so empowering to me to not wait for somebody to help me.
Yeah. 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 Oh, wonderful.
Because that used to be my excuse. I'll do this when. I'll go on a camping trip when I have a partner that is open for that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I would love to hear any story that arises now that you would like to share with us.
Well, my biggest story, which I actually mentioned to you on the panel quickly, and this is where kind of everything just culminated and came together, and I saw just how powerful my connection to nature was. It was kind of what made it all make sense to me, was my story of finding out why my banyan wasn't dropping aerial roots. Because I had bought this banyan seedling from a giant banyan tree that was in Fort Myers, Florida. And I was living in Naples, and there's banyans all over, and they're sprawling and they take up a lot of space. And I was just like, this is what I want. So I planted it in this area that was huge, and I wanted it to sprawl. And it kept growing bigger up top and just keeping just big and bulky, but not sprawling. And I could not understand why it wasn't doing it, because that was the mythical, magical part to me, is the sprawl. And so I finally talked to a professional, because sometimes we have to ask for help. And he said, it's because there's too much energy going to the top of the tree. You have to get rid of the dead weight. And so I got up in the tree all by myself and just started pulling branches. And when I was pulling those branches, I could feel the shift in me going, I'm putting all my energy into the dead weight. And at the time I was in a really toxic relationship, and my energy was going to the wrong places. I wasn't growing because my energy was going to all the wrong places. So I'm taking off these branches, and it's becoming this physiological experience for me of, oh my gosh, I'm taking off the dead weight. And this often happens to me when I start doing inner work, is that something in nature or something that I'm doing will help me see it more clearly, make it easier to absorb that it's not like this thing that's out there, it's right here. And when I got down from that tree, from that point on, I started putting my energy where it needed to go to get me healthy enough to leave. And was the most magical gift that tree gave me, because that shift would not have happened if I had not gone up in that tree myself and started pulling off that dead weight. Yeah. If I had hired someone to do it, it wouldn't have worked because I wouldn't have seen it. I wouldn't have felt it. The tree couldn't have talked to me the way it did. I couldn't have gotten the message clearly. And I really just realized why nature was such a meaningful thing to me. And I've written blogs about lessons in nature and all of that stuff, but it all started from there. That's where I kind of saw it, even though it was a part of me my whole life. It was giving me seeds my whole life. I just didn't know how to plant them yet.
Yeah,
And
which is really the premise of your book.
yes,
The
exactly.
inner garden is really a metaphor, right? For the outer. Yeah, and what really struck me when you were sharing the story just now is the top of the tree. It's like the top of us. So you were in a mental kind of framework, a logic, driven by, this makes sense to stay in this relationship because maybe it's financial, or maybe you just needed to have that partner there regardless of how healthy it was. So it's like we're in our heads. And when you started getting rid of that, you were sinking down more, right? Into the heart, the roots, the earth, getting more grounded and realizing, this is the shift. Yeah. Such a wonderful mirror that
Well,
nature provides.
and to stop looking at it from the energy of the problem. The solution was pulling out the dead energy, or the dead weight. And I needed to see that. I needed to see that part. And I couldn't see it from inside the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. In my work, my career is in feng shui and earth energy healing. And my whole thing is about the land itself. Yeah, the home, we can shift things a little bit around with feng shui. We can make it more beneficial, more expansive. But I always look to the land because there's something there that is always speaking to us if we just open our ears to listen. And it is so much a mirror reflection. So even in the home, feng shui looks at everything outside of us as a mirror for what's going on inside. So I just totally resonate with um, that whole concept, because sometimes we definitely need that. We're blocked in some way. But if we look outside and say, what is going on out there, and just make that thread back to what's happening in our hearts, it can just really open things up. So I'm totally with you. I just love that metaphor.
Yeah. Well, and I love the messages that nature can bring us, even from people from the other side. Anything it can bring us messages, because the energy is all still here. At least that's what I believe. I believe the energy is all still here. Because I had a friend who passed away recently, and it happened suddenly. It happened right as my book was coming out.
Oh, wait.
And I didn't find out until that day she was passing, because she didn't want anything to ruin my day and ruin my events. And so she wouldn't let people call me. So, but they knew to call me the day she was passing. And I got to say what I wanted to say to her. Well, a couple days later, right next to my car where I park it, a mammoth sunflower bloomed right facing my car window. Mammoth. I mean, giant, biggest I've ever seen. I have never seen one that big. I didn't even know the ones we planted could get that big, but it was facing my car. And then I sent it to one of her friends that had reached out to me, and she sent me this picture of all these sunflowers that she had as a decoration in her yard. So I knew that was her reaching out, saying she's safe. She's saying she's good. And because for me, that's always my peace, is just want to know. I want to know they're at peace.
Yeah.
And that for me, that was that message. And I love that because nature is so powerful. It's the way always to get through to me. If there's any way, nature has it. So,
If we're just a little bit more present,
mhm.
aware of our environment, we can pick up clues all the time, messages all the time. And I love that actual way she communicated through the sunflower because, it's just sun and joy and happiness in that yellow sunflower. Just how lovely.
I mean, that's what her life emulated to me. She was such a joyful being. She was such a light in this world. And so it just was the perfect thing. And I had no idea she was that close to sunflowers. I had no idea that she had that connection to them. So, because she lives far away. So, and then she's always come here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was amazing. And of course, that always gets me thinking of a different experience. And I know one day when I was walking and I was struggling to stay present, a mockingbird landed right in front of me and started singing to me. Did not move. I sat there and listened and just listened to it, and it got me present. It was what I needed to get me present. So I'm just always grateful. I'm grateful for when we can just pay attention. Just the slightest little things can be what brings us back. A cloud, the shape of a cloud, it can be anything. That's what's so magical about nature
Yes.
for me.
Yeah. And just that experience of you noticed the bird and then you sat and you were present with that experience. It grounds you, right? You're there in the present moment. You're not lost in the head of spinning catastrophe or whatever you're kind of experiencing in your day. You're just there and joyful and listening to this beautiful bird. So yeah, I kind of marvel at the fact that, there's so many people take pictures of the sunset when they're on vacation
Mhm.
and they're at the beach or they're at some beautiful view and they're taking a picture of this and they're like, oh, how gorgeous. But meanwhile, we have a sunset every single day about it. And, so many people just don't pay attention. It's just they're driving home through traffic. They're just focused on stuff that doesn't really matter, right?
Mhm. Well, that's one of my favorite parts about road trips is looking at the clouds. Like when I'm driving, I love the different formations. I love the different changes of landscape with cloud and lighting and everything. And I think for some people, they wait for the vacation to slow their mind down, which is that's a tough life to wait that long.
Yeah.
To not get out of that space. And I've been caught up in it before when I was parenting when in those early years. But I tend to go more and more into nature. The more I struggle, the more I go to nature because I know that's my way out of the struggle. I know I have to, like, for me, my mind can go dark places because, I was a suicidal teen. And so it can go into autopilot spinning. If I'm not taking charge of what's going on inside of me, it can get dark. So I have to have my tools in place in order to remember that that stuff's not real. They're just stories. And nature always helps me get there. So, eh, and I do love taking pictures when I'm on vacations and showing people pictures because I do know that if someone can even see it through a picture, can see the energy through a picture, which sometimes people can, it can move them even if it's for a few seconds. And I'll take that. If I can help someone in that way, I will take that. As long as their stories don't play to the negativity of lack. And that can sometimes be a problem, is if someone's mind goes to lack when they see something, they're telling themselves stories of why they can't have it. And even if you're looking at it from afar, you still could have it. So,
Yeah, we can't minimize the power of just these little touches of experience in nature. I mean, just walking to the car from a store, you can look up at the sky and just notice, oh, you know, we know where the sun is, like we can feel it, but just
yeah,
look up and just notice, right? And then you could see, oh, is it windy? What kind of clouds? You don't have to know the name of the clouds, although I'm trying to learn them. Um, but like, it's, are there any flowers along the path that you're walking? It literally is stopping and smelling the roses, really. You can have just a minute and
Mhm.
get enough from that 1 minute that can help lift you out of feeling of victimhood or some darkness. Yeah.
Well, and it's what I used to wonder if you could do it through a video. And then I realized you can, because I had watched someone had made this video from Ireland, and it was just mythical and green and gorgeous and beautiful. And I remember being just fully moved, tingles all through my body. I was there, I was present with it, I was in it. And that's when I realized how powerful our energy is, because we just have to connect. That's the only requirement, is that we connect with the energy of it
Yeah.
to have it be powerful.
So that word connect. Somebody might go, well, how do you connect? It's not like you're physically plugging in something. Like,
Yeah.
what do I do to connect? And I feel like more and more now I'm realizing that we don't have to do anything, because the fact of doing something is usually what messes us up. Like we're trying
Imagine.
to figure, right, because we're in our head, right? We're trying to figure out our way through something. How do we resolve this? Why am I in this? Blah, 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 blah. When the word surrender is also a very powerful word, but misunderstood too. Because people go, oh, surrender means I'm lazy or I'm just giving up. And it's like, no, 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 no. So I guess, let's talk about, like, what is it that I keep thinking of the words need to do, and those are not great words, but how do we connect? Yeah, it's hard
What
to put words
what's
around it.
Yeah, what's funny is when you started talking about surrender, my eyes started tearing up and I got the chills, because it is one of the most empowering things we can do for ourselves, and so many people think it's the most disempowering. But it just means that we get out of our heads and let the moment take us instead of our minds. And when we can surrender to where we are right now in this moment, be present to it, and just say, everything is okay. I'm safe right now. And I surrender to this moment. It opens the doorway. It's almost like this door goes, welcome. Welcome to the solution. Because when we're in our problem minds, we can't even see the door, let alone that
Yeah.
there's one that, that we can go through it.
Yeah.
And it just, connecting and solutions, or and surrender, it really is so powerful, and there's so little to do in it, like you were saying. That's why my whole book is about just seeing the energy we're in. Instead of saying what to do, it's just simply about, are we in the energy of love, abundance, and peace, or fear, lack, and separation? Fear, lack, and separation is problem energy. It's what creates problems. It's what spins problems. It's what keeps us in the problem. love, abundance, and peace is that energy of freedom. It's that energy of full love, of surrender, of connection, of all the things that are solution based. And in the book, I don't try to tell people what to do. I just help them see what energy they're in. Because I feel like if we can just see that, it just helps us to be able to connect in a more natural way. Because if we're in energy of fear, lack, and separation, our stories are spinning like that. And we can't connect truly from that place unless it's going to create more problems.
Yeah.
And I just love the theory and the thought of just breathing out and understanding that we can connect. It is possible as long as I can see through the fear, as long as I can see through the lack, see through the separation.
Yeah. And again, I think some people are probably going, how do I do that? How do I do it? There's
Slow down.
Right? It's a never ending like querying.
Yeah.
But one thing that is helpful for me is like pulling back and seeing from the eagle's perch, being able to take yourself out and just to view it as if you were a bird from above, or, in a metaphysical way, it's our soul, our higher self, going into that place to kind of see the situation in a more detached way, which is a challenge for many people as well. I think all of these kind of concepts are so simple that I think people often feel like it's complicated. There's a lot of steps they have to do. When you and I and many people know it can be like that.
Yeah, it can happen so fast. And a lot of times it's just getting out of our own way. And I was in Al-Anon for years and years and years. And my first sponsor in Al-Anon said, the instructions to get outside of the box are on the outside of the box.
I love that.
You cannot be stuck in your problem. If you're stuck in your problem, you're not going to see the solution to it. You have to get out of the box to see the instructions. So those spinning thoughts, I call it the hamster wheel, the worry hamster wheel.
Yeah.
We got to get off that. That's okay. And the thing is there's so many little things that can get us off and help us. Putting our feet barefoot on the ground. To me, that's one of the easiest, quickest things that I can do if I truly want to connect.
Stepping into some cold water.
Cold water. A creek. Oh my gosh. I love when I go to Sedona or anywhere that in a mountain that has a creek and just putting my feet in, I'm instantly transported to being right where my feet are. Okay. Going off trail in the woods, that gets me there because I have to focus on snakes, roots, things that could get in my way, things that are dangerous. And I can just be right where my feet are instead of in my head of all the things that don't matter around me. I just am in my environment right here. But those are just little tiny things. Putting our feet at home, if you don't have any kind of nature around you, literally what you just said, put your feet in a cold bathtub or a shower. Get a cold shower. I mean, anything that gets you into a moment, you're there. You're open to connect in that second.
Right. Where you're feeling your body.
Yeah.
You're feeling your body. I mean, yeah. And that's why like movement is really, really important too. Like dance and physical exercise is helpful for that too. But again, we could be in our heads during physical exercise. And as you know, there are so many people addicted to the spinning hamster wheel. That is who they are. That's who they think they are.
And my book is for any of them. Yeah. Because that's what it's about, getting off of.
Right.
And don't even know.
They don't realize they're addicted to it.
No.
And it's my life,
Well, and we don't realize when we're in that kind of addiction to chaos, and it's an addiction to chaos. And our thoughts is what gets us there. And then we project it out. And so everything we're looking at is chaotic because that's where our thoughts are projecting us to be. That's where we want to go. Not knowing it. It's subconscious. But we keep focused on the problem. Who's to blame? And instead of going inward and going, where are my stories taking me? They're taking me to the energy of fear, lack, and separation. So that's my mirror. That's going to be my mirror of everything that I see. And when we can get off of that and go, oh, I have the power to change that. It gets a little uncomfortable in the beginning because our addiction is autopilot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's unconscious. And I actually just yesterday was, I'm doing all this inner work right now. I have this journal called Cultivating Seeds of Love, Abundance, and Peace. So every day I write three things I love, like, or respect about myself, 3 things I'm grateful for, and 3 things I'm going to do to work on my inner peace today. So I keep it super simple, but I'm on day 19. And yesterday I realized that, I'm feeling off in the morning. And I just, like you said earlier, I became the observer of my thoughts and go, that's interesting. And I could look at it so that it made it so easy for the thoughts to just pass through and not take space. They just went by. And it was such a beautiful shift in moving out of the chaos. And just because I've been doing all this work regularly, it just, I could watch it without jumping into it, without getting into the hamster wheel of it. And it was a beautiful thing. And that's one of the reasons I do love the garden metaphor with the weeds is all gardens have weeds.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing is just to manage them, to stay on top of them when they come up so that they don't get overwhelming, so they don't run your life, so they don't kill all the beautiful plant life you have. And it's just seeing one that pops up and go, okay, that doesn't need to be here anymore.
Right, right.
It's not a permanent thing. It's
exactly.
Just you keep doing the work, just like a garden.
Right. And no matter how enlightened or awakened somebody is, we're always dealing with the weeds.
Yeah.
And what's always helpful for me is to recognize that it's, when things come up like that, it shortens the response time. Right.
Yes.
So like you said, the weed starts popping up, and before maybe it's fully grown, you might notice it and then go, yeah, huh. And and then you're able to pull it out before it gets too big and it's harder to pull out. This is life as a human, right?
Yes.
Every day gives us opportunities.
And that's how I see it too. And I have been around trauma circles that don't embrace the learning experience of things. And for me, that kept me stuck in my problems. And I don't want to be stuck there. I want to have a reason I went through something. I want to have purpose behind it because I believe every experience I've gone through has helped me become the person I am. Because I wouldn't have read certain books. I wouldn't have done certain things. I wouldn't have gone through certain, I wouldn't have been exposed to like Al-Anon, where I got to see steps and ways to deal with things that are heavier and to look at myself in a deeper way. And I'm really grateful for all those things, even though it took trauma to get me there.
Right.
So I'm okay with the fact that I had to go through what I did because it gave me tools that I love that I can share with other people, that I love that I have in my tool chest for myself. And, I have nature. I have nature to always bring me back and go, a hurricane could have hit something, knocked it down, but nature always figures out a way to come back. Not holding that weight. And I don't want to hold that weight. And if other people do, that's their business. They can hold whatever they want, and that's fine. I choose not to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's someone who I was diagnosed with PTSD at 17. So it took a long time for me to go, I am tired of living in my problem. And to really figure out a way to connect to other things that help me move through it faster And it doesn't mean things don't come up.
Right.
It just means I won't stay there.
Exactly. Your response time shortens.
Yep.
You recognize that you're going down the path of spiraling thoughts, and you bring yourself out quicker.
Yeah, because when I get attached to the story of things, that story can always keep me in dark places.
Yeah.
So I go, okay, I'm telling myself this story, but that's not serving me. That's not helping me. What can? And it's usually on a nature walk that I figure out the story that helps me.
Yeah.
Because I'm so fortunate right now. I live walking distance from a nature path. And so I have access to it all the time. So at any time my brain starts taking over, I can just walk, which is I'm so grateful for.
So I'm going to ask you a question. This is what I'm exploring, and we can cut this whole segment out if we have to. But so you have a degree in human development.
Yes.
Have you come across positive psychology?
Yes, I studied positive psychology. Yes.
Okay. I'm really interested in applying that to actually how we work with Gaia, with the earth.
Very nice.
Just shifting from the trauma to the beauty and the harmony and the joyful power of the earth. How do you see that? How do you see that in relation to like trauma therapy, talk therapy, where you're talking through your trauma to a therapist? How do you see positive psychology really interacting, to help people move beyond trauma?
Well, there's a few different steps I think psychological sciences miss, and new neurological sciences are getting. And that's why we have trauma therapies like EMDR now and things like that that really help us move out of the actual trauma neurological pathways to trauma. I prefer that as the first step. If I had that when I was younger, I feel like it would have really helped me move through things faster. I had to learn things the harder way. Talk therapy didn't work well for me, because it just kept me in the story, kept me in the story, kept me in the story.
Yes.
And I want to move. I've always felt like I wanted to move past the story of it.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's good.
Can you just tell the viewers what EMDR is? I've had it myself, so just if you could just give a quick.
So I don't know. It is a newer therapy that people use. I'm not very specific on it. My children had access to it when they had gone through trauma, and so I know very limited amount about it. All I know is that, like EFT tapping, which is an emotional freedom technique, which I am trained in, that you move through your different points and the attachments to your body. Well, this does that with the brain and helps your brain move and create neural pathways by this effect of movement while you're processing. And so it helps rewire the brain in that way. I know I'm not explaining it in the greatest way, but
That's enough.
yeah.
If
But
you're interested in it, you will you
yeah.
have a bit of background now to the viewers, I'm saying, so you
Yeah.
can check
But
it out.
basically, it's just about establishing new neural pathways. That's the goal of it. And so you work through your trauma in a very different way and through a sensational way versus a talking way.
Right.
And
Instead of the mental, it's the body moving.
because trauma gets so stuck in our body. If anybody's read Body Keeps Score, I mean, trauma gets really stuck and embedded into our body, which creates all kinds of problems within us. So this kind of thing can help move that along, move that out. And there's so many different ones. And I definitely don't want anybody to feel pigeonholed into any one right way, because there's so many different ways. And depending on how you process is going to be the way that you find. But I would just say, if you are experiencing trauma, don't give up if one way doesn't work. Because one way is not for everybody. How our brains are different and they process differently. But how I believe that using something like this and then moving into positive psychology, that to me would be the way I would want to go with it, because I don't believe in toxic positivity. I am not a person that can, fake it till you make it type thing. That's not me. My brain does not work that way. So with the positive psychology, it just helps with forming new ways of storytelling to yourself, but understanding it just helps us move through what we're telling ourselves, and understanding that they're all stories. Perspective is all story, everything we tell ourselves is a story. And the question really is this story serving us or is this harming us? And I think positive psychology offers a lot of tools that can help people move their stories and in a more positive direction. And it's not about toxic positivity. And I was a little worried about that when I took the course, is because I was like, yeah, is this going to be about toxic positivity? Because I'm not for that. But it's not.
No.
It's helping to rewire our brains just the same way any other thing is trying to. Whereas I feel like talk therapy, and with new therapists especially, struggle if you don't know the deeper roots of things. It can sometimes do more harm than good sometimes. So finding different methods and finding what works for a person, I feel like, is just a very important step in the process.
Right, right. And I just love the concept, like flow, that book Flow, which talks about finding your passions, what lights you up. And that is such a powerful way to move out of those negative stories and fear-based stories to feeling of abundance and love and joy.
Yes, because it's solution-based. And it comes from those energies. Passion is from those energies. It's not in fear, lack, and separation. That's why we don't get worn out when we're in our passion.
Right.
People used to be like, you literally have been working 24 hours. I'm like, I know. So excited. And I still have energy, and when I write and it just flows out and it's just going, there's nothing that can stop me. My energy isn't depleted. My energy doesn't get depleted. Our energy gets depleted when we're doing something that goes against ourselves.
Right. Right.
And that's what we have to watch. And it can just simply be in our thoughts spinning too.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
But I think definitely that's a great way people can figure out. Because some people think that they're not creative.
Which I thought that my whole life.
But that's the thing, is we're all creative. We create stories every single day in our heads a million times a day. We're very creative. We're all very creative. So it's just harnessing that creativity, and that's what it's about. And it's saying, let's say your creativity comes from organization. Organize a drawer. Yeah. Do something that's simple. I love making collages. That's one of the things. I love word collages because I'm such a fan of words. And so I make word collages that make me feel good. And I have them, like, they're all around me. And
okay, what is this collage right here?
That's Listen with Love.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's that reminder for me to listen with love, because I don't know it all. I don't know what's right for somebody else's path. They don't know what they're meant to experience, to go through in order to get to where they're supposed to go. But what I can do is listen with love, and that will help. So it's that reminder, because sometimes I need it with my closest people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think those are wonderful words to leave our conversation on today, Rachael. Listen with love. And check out below the show notes. It will have Rachael's full bio and links to her 2 books. And it was such a pleasure to have you on here today.
Oh, thank you. I've been looking forward to this conversation, and it did not disappoint. I loved every second.
We went into things that always surprise me. Every interview with a guest always brings up something new, and I just really enjoyed this. I think it will be very helpful to the viewers out there. If you enjoyed this, please like it, comment. We will respond to your comments, and please subscribe. And we'll see you next time, everybody. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of the Enchanted Earth podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so that you'll know when we publish another inspiring episode. Check out my book, The Enchanted Earth, available wherever online books are sold. Thank you and have a magical day.